How's it going? Welcome in here to Rover Sports. I want to talk today about the last image of the Final Four. I wanted to talk some Final Four today, and I also wanted to talk about these college football spring games. Very interesting collegiate football spring games that we had, and I wanted to take the time out of my day today to talk about some of my thoughts about the spring games in general. So, first off, great Final Four, Virginia and Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is going to win it all over Virginia. Jarrett Culver to have the ability to go 1 for 8 from the field, but then still have the confidence late in that ball game to take it amongst himself, to take the big shots, to put his team over the edge, to be the best player on the floor. That was all so important for Texas Tech and for Jarrett Culver and what he was able to do right there. So Texas Tech advances. They advance to the championship game versus Virginia. And, Kyle Guy, that absolutely was a foul. It was very sad for Auburn. It was hard to reconcile that call. You don't want to see officials make that kind of decision. But unfortunately, the guy landed on Kyle Guy, McCormick. So clearly it was actually a foul call. The ref made the right decision. Kyle Guy goes to the line, and the Virginia Cavaliers are going to be in the final game versus Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech and Chris Beard still win the championship, though. Other news around college football, I'm going to get to my thoughts right now on college football. So I watched the South Carolina spring game, and you had Marcus Lattimore, who is such a class act, one of my favorite players. He went to Burns High School with Chase Dodd, one of my favorite high school teams ever. He was part of the Willie Corn teams there in Duncan, South Carolina. He is a guy that helps out South Carolina's staff. You also have, along with having Marcus Lattimore, Chase Dodd is also on the staff as a strength and conditioning coach, Bobby Bentley. So all of Jake Bentley's family is pretty much on the staff at South Carolina. And Jake Bentley, even if he has a year kind of like Nick Fitzgerald had at Mississippi State, he is still going to play out the entire season for the Gamecocks most likely. Now, that second spot's very interesting. I'll tell you, Joyner, I thought that he actually showed flashes, the ability to throw the ball. I like to see him celebrate with his teammates. South Carolina, since Debo's graduating, they're trying to transfer a lot of their former quarterbacks, actually, the wide receivers like Ulrich, like this guy White, I believe, or Cody Hart, or somebody's name out there. And you look at Shi Smith and Brian Edwards, they're going to have to take on the burden this year for South Carolina. I don't think South Carolina's running backs are that good either. But Jake Bentley, he does look improved in this new Brian McClendon system. So, when you look at SC, I thought 31 Cook played really well. I think he was their defensive back. He was tremendous in the spring game. You also had number 24 is a 6'4" cornerback, and he's on some NFL radars. Even though he got trucked over by some of the running backs, he still looks like he can be a good football player. And then for South Carolina, it was Tyler Hilinski versus Joyner. And Joyner was very inconsistent. He had the interception. He would overthrow footballs, but the guy has arm talent. He can make big-time throws from the pocket. Now, I know that he was caught off guard when the reporter asked him, saying, you're running around, and there's a lot of other quarterbacks on South Carolina that have moved to wide receiver. So a reporter out there at South Carolina asked Joyner if he had any interest in moving positions, and he said he wanted to be a quarterback. It's just that Tyler Hilinski, this kid coming in, is very, very talented. He can make layered throws, and he's a five-star kid. Now, his throwing motion is not that pure. It's not that crisp of a throwing motion. He kind of lobs the ball. He kind of throws it. He throws it he kind of has that high arcing release, throws it. Trying to think who he throws the ball like, a little bit like Phillip Rivers but the ball gets there. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he definitely has an above average arm for a collegiate kid, especially a freshman. And he just has great poise, a great work ethic about him. And I think he's winning over the team next to Bentley. He does look better. The touch on his passes look better. DeCarrion's had a whole year, and he said it was an up and down year, but I think Hilinski is going to be a better option for South Carolina after Jake Bentley and Joyner. DeCarrion is probably going to end up transferring somewhere, and he will be a very marketable transfer if he does transfer, if he can beat Hilinski. But beating Hilinski is going to be a tall order. The guy is a very, very good quarterback, and that's going to be a great battle to monitor all year long, even though Jake is going to finish out the year because Bobby Bentley's on staff, because McElwain is there, and Jake Bentley owns this program. Everybody at South Carolina loves and respects Jake Bentley, and for Hilinski and Joyner, they're going to get to again work from Jake Bentley. Okay, so a guy that really impressed me from these games over the weekend, Matt Corral of Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss can take a big step forward this year, or when I mean big, I mean go from like 5 to 7 wins. So actually not that big of a step forward. Corral, maybe at best they can be 8-4, but that would be shocking. Matt Corral, Ole Miss still, their defense just doesn't seem to be that great. I know that they got Mike McIntyre in there. I like the hires that Matt Luke and Ross Bjork have made to try to help out this coaching staff at Ole Miss. Like, I really like that they got Rich Rodriguez, who is an established coach at West Virginia and Arizona. That's a very good coordinator hire. That's a good hire from the Phil Longo era at Mississippi, because now they're actually going to be running the football, and you're going to see balance. Corral is a big time talent. I mean, is Corral going to be the guy that leads the team? We will see. We will see about Matt Corral, because he had the whole falling out with Dan Mullen over his recruitment to Florida. Matt Corral is a 5-star quarterback. Unlike Hilinski, this kid has a huge arm. This kid can improvise. This kid's very fast. This kid is as gifted as a college player as you're going to see at the collegiate level. He is a superstar type of quarterback, and he can almost go crazy like a Johnny Manziel, and he could put Ole Miss on his back. I am so excited to watch this kid for the next 3 years. He's such an electrifying player. And what he was able to do with the wide receivers that were still on the roster, because they lose Metcalf, they lose A.J. Brown, Van Jefferson is not there. It is going to be fascinating to see Matt Corral this year emerge onto the scene in the SEC. I cannot wait to see Corral play these games. Other spring game I ended up watching was Arkansas. Now, Nick Starkel, I believe, is a better pure thrower than Ben Hicks, absolutely. But Ben Hicks owns the team. Ben Hicks got there in December. He's been workmanlike in his approach. He's winning the team. He owns the team. Chad Morris and all the guys trust Ben Hicks, and I think Ben Hicks is going to be the opening day starter with Nick Starkel kind of on his heels. It looks like Arkansas native Ty Story, very nice kid. It looked like he transferred out to Western Kentucky, and I know that Cole Kelly wanted to transfer out of the program as well. So those are some spring game updates. I also heard that USC had a spring game. I think between Jack Sears, JT Daniels, Graham Harrell is going to be absolutely fantastic for this USC program. I think USC is going to take a leap. I also think that Arkansas, I know they were bad last year. Their defense under John Chavis this year is going to get a lot better. A lot more experience is coming back. The offseason program is in place for year 2. These guys are playing serious football now. Of course, this is a crucial year for Chad Morris. He can't bomb again, and you need to see improvement from John Chavis from this side of the football. And this is an important year, obviously, for Chad Morris to win some games because he was close to winning games. He can't go 0-4 in conference again. When you look at the teams that Arkansas can beat in the SEC West, beating Auburn's going to be very tough. Beating Alabama and Texas A&M, probably not going to happen. Could they get Mississippi State? Possibly. Could they get Mississippi? Probably. Could they get LSU? So it's looking like LSU, and these are all toss-up games. When you play in the SEC West, it's absolutely brutal. They better be able to beat Missouri in the SEC. They better be able, I don't know who they play from the SEC East this year, but for Arkansas, their defense has to be really, really good. But A&M is going to be good under Kellen Mond and Jimbo. Alabama's Alabama. Auburn might reload with a quarterback that I think is pretty good in the kid, freshman quarterback, kind of on the smaller side, but kind of an Alabama legend. Boy, oh boy, it's not Joey Gatewood. It's somebody that I happen to forget. I'm going to have to look up the Auburn quarterback real quick because it's bothering me. So Auburn QB 2019. I think it's going to pop up immediately. It's not Malik Willis. It is going to be, let me tell you who it will be. Bo Nix. That is the guy. Bo Nix, the name I was trying to come up with. But that's how I'm going to end the program. That's how I'm going to end the show. I want to thank all of you guys for stopping by Rover. And again, we got NFL draft coverage coming up next weekend. And all in all, it's just a great, great time. I love seeing the spring games. I think that Kendall Briles is going to help out Florida State a lot. I can't wait to see what Graham Harrell does. I can't wait to see the air raid come to USC. I think it's such an underrated hire. The air raid system coming to USC. Other news in college sports. PJ Fleck is going to be tremendous this year. Minnesota might win 10 games this year. I know that they only won 7 last year or 8 last year. They got to go 9-3, 10-2. My expectation for Minnesota is 10-2 this year. That's how excited I am about Minnesota football. Minnesota and Nebraska are going to take meteoric rises in the Big Ten Conference. Other things. It looks like Rick Barnes might move out of Tennessee and might go to UCLA. That'll be a blessing for Tennessee fans because then Tennessee can try to hire Greg Marshall. They can even try to hire Darren DeVries from Drake, who's a very, very good coach. Of course, Dana Ford from Missouri State is an excellent recruiter and a really good basketball coach. There are so many great basketball coaches that are out there in the Missouri Valley Conference and that are everywhere. I mean, Penny Hardaway is going to be a better coach than Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes is a mediocre basketball coach. Tennessee's not even going to make the tournament next year. They should fire Rick Barnes when they have the chance. I'm telling you. He's trying to get a raise from Phil Fulmer. It shouldn't happen at all. You should let him go to UCLA. You won't regret it whatsoever. There's very, very good assistant coaches. You can even go hire a high school coach, and it could be better than Rick Barnes. Nate Oates and Penny Hardaway are going to be better than Rick Barnes coaching basketball. That is a fact. That opinion I am strongly with. I think Musselman might even be a better coach, but Fred Hoiberg compared to Rick Barnes is laughable. Fred Hoiberg is light years better than what Rick Barnes is offering. So, point is that Tennessee basketball fans, you shouldn't be discouraged at all if Rick Barnes wants to go to UCLA. He is an average basketball coach. He doesn't win big games. Look at Chris Beard. Chris Beard went from Arkansas Little Rock, went to Texas Tech, and he's winning games at a huge monumental level. I mean, look at what Nate Oates did with Buffalo. Nate Oates and Buffalo almost got as far as Texas Tech did, or as Tennessee basketball. So, point is, Chris Beard is the new Bill Self in the Big 12, and the coach of the coach of Bruce Weber, the coach of Kansas State, he ain't very good in the Big 12 anymore. Scott Drew isn't a good basketball coach anymore. So I think Jerry Stackhouse, look at what Vanderbilt did. I think Vanderbilt could strike gold possibly with the recruiting possibilities of Stack. So, again, I'm not a Rick Barnes guy. I never really have been. Again, Texas guy, nice enough guy, but no, he's not a good basketball coach. Not even the most exciting coach to be around. Maybe Tim Miles comes to Knoxville. It'll be exciting. But there's several really good names. Like Nico Medved is a good coach as well that you can hire in and that can come into the SEC and that can produce at a high level. I would go look for Darren DeVries. Darren DeVries with an injured Drake team was unbelievable this year. You look at the Creighton and Nebraska assistants, there's tremendous coaches everywhere in college basketball. Everywhere you look, there are terrific basketball coaches. Wes Miller right up the road would be a tremendous hire over Rick Barnes. So you can find basketball coaches everywhere. So if I were Tennessee, I would be excited if Rick Barnes left the program because you can't fire him now, but he's going to go way downhill. Thank you, guys. Take care. Peace out and see ya.